Come on up.
First off, Kevin, I've heard you say that if you ever get a chance to personally thank an artist for their work, to do so. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. What would you like to know?
Well, it's not what I'd like to know. I brought my 15-year-old son, and after all that cox.
How old? 15? Where are you? Raise your stand up, son. Make sure Dad explains all of this on the way home. Chris was right. I shouldn't work with a potty mouth.
He's heard worse.
He's yeah, he's fucking 50. He's like, brother, you're tame compared to what I've said, seen, done. He just got proud on that one. You're like, fucking well,
as a guy with no artistic talent, and my son...
That makes fucking two of us,
he's a young actor, and he has aspirations, and he's doing very well. What advice could Kevin Smith, the artist, give my son to succeed?
Let me see. Helps to have a friend support system. A bunch of people surround you that you can get stuff done with. And you gotta pick them carefully. You can't just assume that everyone that you're with now or in your life now is gonna be supportive of what you do, because the moment you tell people you wanna step outside the box that they've assigned for you, you make people scared, man. I'm not scared of like, oh my God, the world's ending. It's scared in a first world way. Nervous, because the world's a crap pot, man. And once you start climbing to the top, there are a bunch of arms that will be willing, happy to bring you fucking down, bring you right back down to the bottom of the pot, because misery loves company. If you ascend, that's a reminder to somebody that they did not, particularly if they start the same place, same point as you. And it hurts worse for the people who like, you can't do that, what are you fucking crazy? You'll never get that and shit. When you actually do it, it's a reminder to them that like, they didn't help, and all they did was doubt. They could have fucking started their climb as well, but instead they were too busy trying to yank you down. So the world being a crab pot, it's tough to find support to do the shit that you want to do. You know, you can't, I would suggest, like he said, acting, don't just be an actor, multitask. It's now a multitasking world. People who can do more than one thing have a better chance of finding a home, safety, purchase in something they love. If you're just an actor, you're waiting for some motherfucker to give you a job at all times. In fact, you're asking for that hand out. You live with your hand out. If you can write your own material, if you can direct your own material, then the world is yours. Then you don't ever have to ask anybody for a job. You can give yourself a job. Now, if you're that person, you surround yourself with not fuckers that are gonna yank you down. You need some fucking why not people. There's a lot of people in the world who are totally why. You know, if you tell the world you want to do something, just try it. Tell people like, I'm gonna try something that I'm not normally known to do, and fucking it won't work, but I'm gonna give it a shot because I think it'd be fucking fun. You won't get met with a chorus of hosannas and fucking pats on the back. You'll get slapped across the face with a big floppy dick of why. Why? Why are you doing that? Why do you think you can do that? Why are you saying this shit now? Why you and why not me? Why are you acting this fucking way? Because again, it's crab pot. People don't want to think about you going someplace. It means leaving them behind, unless they're fucking with you. So you leave those fucking why not people behind. You leave those out of your life. You surround yourself with why people. You surround yourself with why not people, man. So instead of why, you fucking say to them, hey man, I want to step outside my box, do something a little bit fucking different and shit. You get, why not? That sounds fun. Why not? I'll fucking help you. Why not? I was just gonna jerk off today, so this sounds better. Surround yourself with why not, things get easier to fucking do. I'm telling you, write your own ticket if you can do more than one thing. And you know, if you're just doing the acting thing, like Ben and Matt, they were just actors for most of their career, and then one day they were like, fuck it, let's write a movie. If we write a movie and we're attached to it, then they gotta put us in the fucking movie. That was Good Will Hunting. They sold it to Castle Rock for like 800 grand as a spec script. And then Castle Rock took a long time to make it. They wanted to hire one of the guys who's the head of the company, 3 heads of the company, wanted to direct it, and that was very out of the ordinary. The boys wanted a really cool director for it, and everyone liked that script. So Castle Rock wasn't moving forward with the movie, and finally they kind of made this deal with the guys where they're like, you have 2 months where you can take the movie out and try to set it up someplace else. But if you don't set it up someplace else, it comes back here, you two are no longer in the movie, and we're gonna cast Leo and Toby instead. So the boys were like, Jesus fucking Christ, they went from heaven on earth, like, we wrote a spec script, and they paid 800 grand for it, they're gonna make our movie, to nobody was making the movie, and it might get made without them and shit. And that's where I come into the story. Ben was like, you work at Miramax, man, you know Harvey Weinstein, can you see if he'll buy our script? And I was like, you wrote a script? And he was like, you know I fucking wrote a script. And I was like, let me read it. I've never read your script. Let me give it a shot. I'll read it. If I can bring it to him, I totally will. And he sent me the script for FedEx, Good Will Hunting and stuff, because we didn't have email in those days. So I went into the bathroom and read it when I got it. I sat down to read it. I was like, I'll read the first few pages while I take a shit. Sat in the bathroom for 2 hours. Shit in the first 2 minutes, just sat there poring over every page, bawling at the end of it and stuff. It was real beautiful, it was so well written. Came out of the bathroom in tears. Scott was like, that was a hell of a shit. I was like, we gotta get this fucking script to Harvey Weinstein, man. Like, this is so up his alley. The script is brilliant. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Affleck did something good. Like, and we brought it in Miramax, they picked it up, and suddenly they picked it up and turned around from Castle Rock, and the boys got to stay attached. They got to pick their director. It was Gus. The rest was movie history. At one point, I was the director. I didn't want to be, but they were like, you should direct it. Harvey, Ben, and Matt, once the deal was made, they're like, you should direct Good Will Hunting. I was like, why? They're like, you're a director, and you brought the script in, and you know the boys. Who knows the boys better than you? I was like, the boys know themselves, man, and they wrote the script. Why don't you let them direct it? He's like, I'm not letting actors direct a fucking script. I was like, you let this actor direct the script all the time. I play Silent Bob. He goes, that's not acting. I said, no, I love this script so much, I'd fuck it up. Like, you know, honestly, it'd be pointless having me as director, because I would just refer to the boys all the time, defer to them. I'd be like, what did you guys see when you wrote this? Okay, let's just do that. So you might as well let them direct the movie. And instead they got Gus Van Sant, which is who the boys really wanted. So those cats were able to write themselves. They've done very well in life. I don't know if you follow their careers, but like, they made quite a few movies, God bless you. But it all begins, all their, their good fortune and stuff, and the hard work begins with them stepping outside their box, knowing that like if they're waiting to get hired as an actor, they gotta wait, and you're waiting on somebody else, the good fucking graces of somebody else. But if you could bring something to the table, like you can write a script, suddenly you could write your own fucking ticket. So if I had to give advice to a young actor, that first, right off the bat, is be more than a young actor. Be a young writer, be a young director. Why not direct? You got a fucking cell phone, it's got a camera, you're shooting. With that, with the power of your cell phone, you can make a better movie than we made with $27,000 back when we made Clerks. It'll be in color, number one. You can do that, figure that shit out. Like, especially how 15, oh my God. You got like, even if you devoted the next year of your life to learning storytelling, so that you weren't just a part of someone's story, you could tell your own fucking story. You know how thrilling that is, man? It's tough when you're waiting for somebody to hire you, begging for somebody to hire you. It's a lot of rejection as an actor. Over and over again, you're not right, you're not right, you're not right. And if you ever get right, then boy, you're the person over and over again, and it's somebody else's turn to not be right and stuff. But why play those odds? You know what I'm saying? That's like going to Vegas and wasting money there, because you know that the house is gonna win. Yeah, it's fucking fun and shit, but like, if I'm gonna throw money at something, I'd rather buy chocolate and eat it. I'm gonna feel better, and the results are gonna be good. So you might as well fucking like clock it in your favor, you know? So if you wanna act, know how to do these two other things. That's insanely helpful, because then you ain't counting on anybody to come to you and be like, come act in this. You don't have to ask anybody for a job. You can be that person. And you have the stories in you. Even as a 15-year-old, you can fucking tell stories. And even if you're like your dad was like, I'm not creative at all, bullshit. Your dad is a genius little content generator. He won't fucking accept credit for that. But your dad has lived this amazing fucking life, different from mine, different from yours, different from hers, and stuff like that. And he has this POV, man, this voice. That's the POV, the prism through which he sees his entire fucking life. And how he explains it then in turn to you, his kid and stuff. That's unique. It's unique as a fucking snowflake or a goddamn butterfly and stuff. It is very specific. That's what you call your voice. Your voice is the only currency that you have in this life. It's important to know this at age 15. You're young and you don't think about this shit. But one day, youth turns to old age and then you wither and fucking die. You got some time, but you know. But what never goes away, what only gets crisper, what doesn't decay, rot, and fucking go, it only leaves you when you leave it, when you leave this world, is your voice. Your perspective gets more and more tuned as life goes on, man. It gets sharper and fucking sharper. So you have tons of fucking stories to tell. Your dad says he's not creative. I don't believe that. I'm not creative, but I like to talk a lot, man. Like, that's all that is. Don't take talent to do what you're talking about doing with your life. Don't take talent to be an actor. Don't take talent to make up stories and shit. You know what takes talent? Building a combustion engine or building a building. Because if you don't do that right, people fucking die. But getting up and being like, I'm Batman, that don't take talent. Ben Affleck does it. I just wrote that joke. Totally using that again. Well, the first point's absolutely true, man. People use that term talent at you, and some people use it themselves to separate it from other people. Like, these people are fucking talented and I am not. It's horseshit, man. We all are talented because nobody's truly talented unless they're an artisan building something that has to work or something like that. But making pretend, like fucking, like making up stories and shit, no, that's what kids do, man. Like, and if you're lucky enough, you get a job where you get to make pretend for the rest of your life. You know, you're young now, it's a golden age because everyone tells you like the future is yours, you can do anything. Like, oh my God, the places you'll go and stuff like that. But by the time you hit 21, they'll be like, you're on your own, motherfucker. You know? They stop caring about you, dude. You're just one of them, one of us at that point and stuff. So youth is fucking precious, man. It's that time where there's like, you know, no expectation of you and people actually say nice things to you, say good things to you and shit. Shit that fills you up, gives you self-esteem, much needed self-esteem in your young life. But at one point that fucking goes away and you have to figure out how to do that yourself, man, how to create new self-esteem without somebody telling you nice things. That's generally why we hook up with people, get married and stuff. We need people that say nice things to us again. You know, we're like, holy shit, that's nice to hear. I'll tell you something right now, you know, you don't need to hear it at 15, but I'll fucking tell your dad, I'll tell everyone else in the room as well, and you can hear it as well. And this is the truest fucking sentiment you'll hear from a stranger this week, I promise you. It's gonna sound corny and it may make you want to chuckle and shit like that, but it's absolutely true. I'm not saying it for effect, I'm not saying it to make you laugh, I'm saying it because it's fucking real, and I'm saying it because probably nobody hears it as often as they should in this room. Ready for this? You are smart and good. You have so much to fucking offer, man. You have POV, a voice that nobody else fucking has. And that voice is useful. You can use it to fucking inform people. Like, we have all the answers we fucking need in this life. Each of us, we do. We're always looking at people with funny outfits on, like the clergy or fucking politicians. What do? All we have to do is turn to each other, but that will never happen. Because all we do is isolate more and more and more. Shit, we live in our fucking phones now. So I'm not so stupid as to think one day we're all gonna hold hands and fucking sing Kumbaya. No, we're only gonna get further and further apart. But it doesn't mean that you can't still give of yourself. It doesn't mean you can't fucking add to the equation. I choose podcasting. I've always been recording podcasts and stuff. I like to disseminate information that way. I like to record them. They're fun for me. It's not altruistic. I don't do it for others. I do it because it makes me laugh. It's free laughs and shit like that. But I put it out there into the world, man, because nobody's stopping me. Like right now, fucking nobody's stopping me. If you want to make a movie, you can make any movie you want. You want to show it in a movie theater, someone will fucking stop you. It's called a gatekeeper. Someone will be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Let's see if it's worthy enough to be on this fucking screen. If you want to make a TV show, you can make any fucking TV show you want. But if you want to show it on a network, good luck. Because there will be somebody being like, oh, let me see if this is good enough. There's a fucking gatekeeper. There's gatekeepers everywhere. If you want to be an actor, you will meet gatekeepers time and time again. People where you're like, I just want to be in your movie. And they're like, sorry, you're not right. You're not the person we're looking for. It's a gatekeeper world, man. So I always try to find places where there are no gatekeepers. Podcasting, no gatekeeper right now. Nobody gives a shit. There's no FCC. The government doesn't even step in and say, you can't say that. You can fucking say anything you want and record a podcast about any fucking subject you want. I record 6. One of my podcasts is called Talk Salad and Scrambled Egg. I do a podcast with this guy, Matt Myra. And all we do is unasked for commentary tracks for every episode of Frasier. That shouldn't count as a show, but it fucking counts, man. And nobody's stopping me, so I'm like, let's fucking do that. I record Fat Man on Batman, Hollywood Babylon, because there's freedom to it. Nobody's saying you can't do that. Sooner or later, somebody's gonna shut it down, figure out how to charge people to do this, or fucking license it or some sort of shit, and then all the fun goes out the window. That becomes like everything else. There'll be a gatekeeper. But right now, you can talk about whatever you want. I'm telling you right now, you wanna be an actor? This path to acting is a podcast. Sitting there and listening to the sound of your own voice and listening to yourself tell a story is training for pitch. You learn how to present things and say things. It's all fucking practice. And what did Malcolm Gladwell say? 10,000 hour practice and make people an expert at anything. So if you record podcasts, it strengthens your actual performance, teaches you how to use your voice and stuff like that. Teaches you to be comfortable with feeling your voice out, sitting down, reacting, interrelating with others. Shit, you can sit down and just do an acting podcast where you and a friend or fucking friends do scenes and shit like that. Get better at the job while you're having fun and stuff. I urge people to record podcasts. How many people in the room do podcasts? Put your hands together real quick. That's a good amount, man. It's more broadcasters than you generally see in a room at one time, unless it's at some kind of presidential event or media event or something. But it'd be nice to hear more than that, man. Self-expression is the greatest gift you have in the world as a human being. You understand animals can't self-express? That's why a deer is not like, don't fucking shoot me! Like, they just look up and get fucking shot. They can't self-express. You can fucking say things, and you should say things. Share that fucking experience. Your dad talking about not being creative, man. Doesn't matter. That life that he's lived is useful. You know, because he gives you insight all the time. He's the one that guides you, I imagine, probably your other parents as well, but he's part of the equation as well. He's telling you shit, don't do this, do this, I've done these things, here are the pitfalls or whatever. So, you know, having somebody like that in your life, sit down with that guy. Sit down with your dad and record a podcast. Talk about fucking acting. Talk about whatever you fucking want. Here's another reason to sit down with your dad. I sit down with my mom. I've recorded podcasts a few times. When people die, and don't worry, your dad's not gonna die for a long time. But when people fucking die, first thing you lose is the sound of their voice, man. When people die, you'll never forget what anybody looks like in this world, because we all take pictures of each other and everything all the time. We selfie and shit. So you'll never forget what anybody looks like, but you will lose the sound of their voice, man. That's the first thing that goes. I can't remember what my grandmother sounds like anymore, because I never put a microphone on her. Why would I and shit? And she left before we had an answering machine, so there's no recording of her voice or anything like that, so I don't remember what it is. Do that. Sit down with your dad, because one day you won't be able to sit down with your dad. Not because like your dad will be dead, just because life takes you in other places. This is a golden time to sit down and fucking bond. And here's another thing that comes out of it. 10 years from now, you listen back to it, man, you'll have something really fucking special. It's another reason I archived my conversations, just because I can listen to them later on. And like, I hear Harley's voice when we sat down and did podcasts with her when she was a kid. She's fucking almost 17 now. It's a world of difference, but I'm like, look at the journey we fucking made. I sit down with people that I love, people that make me laugh, people who I think deserve a light shined on them and stuff like that. Who doesn't deserve a light shined on more than your fucking dad? I sit down with people where I'm like, nobody would ever know how cool these fuckers were if I didn't fucking call attention to them and stuff like that. So for me, it's multi-purpose. Like, I get a lot of shit out of it. But most of all, I just love the sound of my own voice, obviously. So fucking, that's a free, easy way to do it. You're taking a step toward a larger world when you're heading towards self-expression, man. That's fucking really great. I encourage you to do that. I've spent my life trying to do that, and I can't think of a better life that I could have fucking lived. Yeah, I guess I could have helped people and been noble, but no. Like, making pretend for a living, making the funny and shit, like telling the lie that tells the truth, that's what acting is. I love actors and actresses for that reason. They're the ones that tell the lie that tells the truth. They stand on stage or in front of a camera and they just lie to you constantly. My name is this. It's not. I'm married to this person. I'm not. Darth Vader wants to kill me. They don't. Like, fucking, it's a series of beautiful lies, at the end of which you learn something important about yourself. Some honesty, oddly enough, by watching people lie at like 10 lies per second or something like that while they're acting. Lie that tells the truth, man. It's always fascinating to me. If actors and actresses are like using magic words, so to speak, they're kind of like the only thing we have close to witchcraft in this world. I don't say that lightly. I understand there's Wicca and stuff like that. I don't get hexed. But like, but that is kind of a magic spell. A motherfucker stands there, says some shit ain't true, and you believe it and stuff. And somehow you find out something about yourself. Or at the very least, you're just entertained. I usually find out stuff about myself. That's why I love the arts. I love TV, love movies, love music, books, and shit like that. I don't know who the fuck I am. I'm 45. I'm still trying to figure out who the fuck I am in this life. And I never got close to figuring out who I was in the classroom. I never got close to figuring out who I was in a church. But every time I got close to figuring out who I was, generally I was in movie theaters, sitting in front of a TV screen, reading a book, listening to music, man. Art is a mirror, man. So like, anybody who has a yen for it or is curious about it, your dad who says he's like, I'm not creative, but clearly you're like, I want to be an actor and stuff. Involve everyone. when I talk about having those why not people, there's the king of why not right there. You will never hear from your fucking father, don't do that. Like, your father will always be like, whatever, man. He sees how much you love it and shit. He'll support that passion. Surround yourself with people who will support that passion. You do that for those people as well. We're all in this together. We're supposed to fucking help each other out. If you choose to self-express before you get to be an actor or as you're acting with a podcast, be honest. Be honest. Just talk about what you want to talk about. Be passionate and stuff. And you won't get graded on this. That's the beauty of it. There's no right way. There's no wrong way. You just sit down and start talking. When I sat down and recorded a podcast with my mother, first I fed her a bunch of marijuana cake, edibles they call it. Got her really baked and then asked her very uncomfortable questions. I'm not suggesting you do this with your father at all. But just to give you an example of what I did, I got my mom baked and I was like, Mom, what was it like to suck Dad's dick? And she was eating the cake, baked out of her mind, goes, luscious, tiger, luscious. I recorded it, man. I put it up online, and people are like, your mother's very interested. Is she single? I love it. I love that I got that recording, man. My mom won't be in this best of all possible worlds forever. She's 70, but I got that conversation to listen to for the rest of my life, along with a few others that I've recorded with her where I didn't ask about my father's dick at all. So that shit's magic. That shit's special, man. Like, I found recently, like last year, 2 years ago, I guess, tapes that I used to record when I was younger. I would ride around town on a bike and fucking record myself and record my thoughts and shit. And we did an episode of Smodcast where I just shredded them, like just made fun of them mercilessly and stuff. Emo Kev. They're pretty funny episodes. But I'm so glad I did that. I'm so glad that there's a recording of me sitting around spilling my dopey thoughts out at that age. Because I know what I think now. I've been doing podcasting for 10 years and like, I don't think anymore, I just speak, it comes out of my mouth and goes onto a recording and becomes a podcast. But everything's cataloged now. Everything in my life is, I use my podcast network as kind of an ongoing organic biography. So I don't have to sit down and write it one day. Just sit there telling the story. Sit down and tell a story with your dad. You may find yourself telling a story that leads you into the thing you most want to be, which right now is an actor, but by the time you're done, should be a storyteller, should be a self-expresser. I hate putting labels on it because that makes people go like, well, that's for someone else. You call it art, people get kind of antsy because like, ugh. I just call it self-expression. Anybody can self-express. An art sounds like only an artist can do and shit like that, but self-expression, if you got a self, you can express. I encourage you to do that as often and as much as you can for the rest of your fucking life. Have a great one. Welcome. Let's do another question.